you try to emulate? Who are the people that you try to copy, the people that you try to be like in Christian circles? Are you trying to emulate somebody like a Matt Mayer, a worship leader, or perhaps Graham Kendrick? Do you look up to them as the people to model your life on? Or perhaps you wait for Tim Keller's latest book and you want to emulate your life on him. Who would you put in a place of honour if you had a party or a wedding feast? Would it be one of those guys that I just mentioned? Or would it be somebody different? Well, in this bit of Philippians, Paul drops in a bit where he talks about a guy called Epaphroditus. Now, Epaphroditus is somebody who comes from Philippi, and he's somebody who's come with a gift from the Philippians to Paul. We see that in Philippians chapter 4, a bit later on. But Paul talks in such warm words about Epaphroditus. He calls him his brother, his co-worker and fellow soldier. You see that in verse 25. And these are such words that he talks about Epaphroditus. Paul really appreciates who he is and what he's done for him. He has been there standing shoulder to shoulder with him for the Lord's work. But right in the middle of this letter, we get this bit about Epaphroditus. It would normally be at the end of a letter where Paul would do his greetings and his talking about the different people that have helped him. But he drops him in here because he wants us to see him as an example. He wants us to see Epaphroditus as an example to be honoured. And you see that in verse 29 when he says, honour people like him. Honour there is a word that's like, consider it valuable. Consider it something precious. Put this person in the place of honour at your feast, at your banquet, at your party. That's what he wants us to do with Epaphroditus. It's what he wants the Philippians to do with Epaphroditus. But what is it about Epaphroditus that makes him an example that's worth following? What has he done that means that he is an example worth following? Well, in verse 30, we see a couple of things that Epaphroditus did. Firstly, he almost died for the work of Christ. Now, the work of Christ is his work on the cross for us. His death, his resurrection, his defeat of Satan and the powers of darkness through that first Easter Sunday. Epaphroditus almost died for this gospel work. He died almost for sharing this gospel with other people. That's the inference we can take from here, that he almost died for this work of Christ, sharing that gospel message with other people. But it goes on to say in verse 30 that he risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give. The word help there is the same word that we would use for service or for ministry, and it is this example of serving other Christian brothers and sisters when they need it, when they need some sort of support and help. So Epaphroditus has risked his life to share the gospel, the good news of the works of Christ, and also to love his fellow brothers and sisters, another Christian who is in need. That really helps us to think of what we should be doing as believers, to think about how we should be living our lives. The example of Epaphroditus is that we've got to be willing to do anything for the work of Christ, and we've got to be willing to do anything to serve other believers.